Recording. All right, and y'all can see the slides?
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay. So, hello everyone. My name is Barb Cardell. I am the program director with PWN USA. I use they, them pronouns, and I am here today to help us all as we're working through the HIV is Not a Crime 6 scholarship process. And we're going to just go ahead and talk about what the process looks like so that everybody is clear as can be about it. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to talk about what is on the scholarship application itself. So you're going to understand how to get to the scholarship application. And then we're going to talk about what is on it and then how you might want to go ahead and respond. Before I go ahead and jump right in, I want to thank our friends at the Zero Project. Many of the slides are based on the presentation that they gave at the end of August that was announcing the scholarship process for folks, as well as the nomination process. And so rather than reinventing the wheel, I was able to just borrow from them to make sure that we were able to give you all of the correct information. So, oh, and it looks like Deirdre's joined us. Hey, Deirdre, welcome. Deirdre is with the Zero Project and actually was one of the presenters on the scholarship announcement webinar.
Hey y'all, hey, I'm here.
Hey, Deidre.
Deirdre, will you introduce yourself so folks know who you are? Do you mind?
No, I don't. I just my camera is not working in the front, but um, I am. Hello, everyone. I'm Deidre Speaks Johnson. I'm the National Programs and Strategic Planning Manager for the Zero Project and the scholarship co-chair for HINAC. So I'm excited if you all have questions to possibly answer those questions for you. Thank you.
Deirdre, thanks so much. And please, as we're going along, if there's any piece that you want to say a little bit more, just come off of mute. I am sharing slides and trying to monitor the chat, and so I might miss if you have a hand raised or something. So please feel free to hop right on in. And thank you for being here. And while you don't have your camera on, I always love this picture of you. So people can go ahead and see your picture and with your lovely red glasses and know who you are. All righty. So thanks everyone for joining. Again, we're going to get ready and talk about the scholarship process for HINAC. More importantly, we're talking about how at PWN we want to support our members and our friends to be able to feel comfortable submitting a scholarship and filling it out and planning it out and thinking about what you want to put down that's going to show you in your absolutely best light. And so that's the part of the process that we are here to help support you with. But first, I want to go over it because we want to make sure that everybody really clearly understands. If I can get, there we go. So we are getting ready for HINAC6. HINAC is HIV is Not a Crime, and it is the National Training Academy. It is put on by the Zero Project, which Deirdre is one of their staff members. And then there is a partnership for planning with Positively Trans, PWN USA, and the HIV Caucus. HIV is Not a Crime is going to happen in 2025, so next year. And right now we have 2 dates set aside. We'll know which dates they're going to be the end of September. But right now they're either going to be May 31st to June 3rd or June 7th to June 10th. As we are inviting people to come and join us at HIV is Not a Crime Training Academy, we want to make sure that people are clear from the very beginning that we have principles that we uphold, especially around our COVID protocol. And so if this is something that you have challenges with and want to talk more, I'm happy to talk to you about it. Deirdre can talk to you about it. But we want to be just absolutely transparent about what is in place before people show up or even apply. So the protocol recommendations are testing before you arrive. It'll be on the honor system. Testing while you're at the training academy if you don't feel well. We recommend that people be updated with the current vaccinations, but it is not required. We are recommending that people mask in shared spaces where we're all packed together, but that's just a recommendation as well. And then there will be color coding for folks that are feeling different ways that they want to engage. And so, for example, blue might be somebody who is, wanting to strictly follow all of the COVID protocols. So wearing a mask and not hugging people and staying 6 feet away, eating out in the open, or not eating in shared spaces. That might be somebody who's color coded blue. We might have somebody who's color coded green, and that might be somebody who is more comfortable about being in spaces. Maybe they'll wear a mask, maybe they'll social distance, but they're okay hugging people that they haven't seen in a really long time. And then there will be like pink, for example. And pink are people who are comfortable being in the space, sharing the space, don't need to wear a mask, a-okay hugging, sitting at the same table with people that they're eating. We'll go over what each of these color codes mean, and they'll be on people's badge, so that we'll have a badge where somebody doesn't want to be in pictures. That'll be a lanyard. And then we'll have a sticker on the badge that sort of talks about how comfortable people are with different levels around COVID protocols. And as always, guidelines are subject to change depending on the circumstances. We also have a code around good behavior and being in spaces, respecting each other's bodies, well-being, and that is also listed on the scholarship as well. So it's important to read all of those and just make sure, do a kind of heart check and say, am I comfortable being in these spaces, or maybe I'm not? We all know that everybody gets to make their own decision about what happens and doesn't happen to their body. Bodily autonomy is something we're big about. And so if this feels like you're not comfortable, then you might think perhaps applying for a scholarship is not something that you need to take the time to do. But we want to make sure that we're really transparent and that people are aware of these ahead of time. So here's the timeline. The nomination and scholarship process for a HINAC opened August 27th, as I said, with the great webinar that Deirdre and Tammy Hott did. The way it works is that somebody needs to nominate you first before you are asked to submit a scholarship. And the reason for that, we'll get to that slide, but there's a reason for that, and it's actually a pretty good one, because usually in the past there have been letters of recommendation that people have had to gather, and that was stressful. And so this is the first step in the process, is that somebody nominates you. Those are due by October 7th. Once somebody nominates you, then you will be sent a scholarship application, and you'll fill that out and you'll return it. Scholarship applications are due by October 21st. So just because somebody says, oh, you were nominated for a scholarship, doesn't mean that your work is done. It means actually that it's just beginning. Anyone can nominate you. It is best if there is somebody who works with you and can talk and brag on you a little bit, for them to nominate you, because there are a couple of questions about the person that you're nominating, and we want to make sure that they have not just your contact information, but they can give the nomination a little bit of insight into what you do and what your work is, why they think you would be great to go to HIV is Not a Crime. Then scholarship notifications will come out by January 7th. That's when they'll be decided. And we ask that people confirm that they're willing to accept a scholarship by February 24th, so that travel can have, hopefully by that time, have been booked. So that is the timeline. When we talk about the process and the overview, I mentioned a little bit of this. And again, I just want to give mad thanks to the Zero Project for these slides and make sure that we're not missing anything. So step one is to get someone to nominate you via the nomination form. And again, we have the nomination form that's in the chat, and I'm going to go ahead and repost it so that in case you're curious, it is there, right? There it is. Step two is that you will then receive a link for the scholarship application in your email. Step three is you fill out the scholarship application. Step four is that they're reviewed and scored. Step 5 is that you're notified about whether you're awarded an application or not. And again, you need to make sure that the person who nominates you has your most current information, and also does know you so that they can go ahead and talk about you. Just a reminder, and we're going to say this a lot because people got a little bit confused last time. Just because you're nominated, it does not mean that you receive a scholarship. It just means that you have been invited to apply. Any questions so far? Actually, why don't I check? Deirdre, is there anything that I might have missed or that you want to go into a little bit? All right, then I'll see if there are any questions. Okay, looks like we have some introductions in the chat, but no questions. So we're just going to keep going ahead. Alrighty. So one of the things that you need to be aware of is that there are different kinds of scholarships, and the different kinds of scholarships have different registration fees that are associated with them. So everyone, whether you receive a scholarship or not, will be asked to pay something towards your attendance at the HIV is Not a Crime conference. So we have level 1, which is just lunch and dinner, and that has a registration fee of $100. That means that you are getting yourself there, that you have somewhere else to stay, that you just want to be a part of the conference and there for lunch and for dinner. Level 2, which is registration and lodging, so that includes a place to stay, as well as the food, will have a registration fee of $150. Then we have level 3, which is a full scholarship, and that asks for a registration fee of $200. And that is dining, lodging, and the most cost-effective transportation to get you there. So there will be about 50 to 75 scholarships, depending on how many and which different kinds people have been awarded. But that is the different levels. And so please know that if you are accepted for a scholarship, you will need to pay something. And so somebody I was talking to earlier today who really, really wants to go to HIV is Not a Crime and is going to apply for a full scholarship, so is planning on needing to pay a $200 registration fee. That's the level 3 scholarship. She has already started putting away $10 just to make sure, $10 a week, I think is what she said she was going to put away, just to make sure that she has that registration fee and can cover it when she's asked. Any questions so far?
Yes, I have one.
Yeah.
My name's Marcel. Just wanted to, and I hope I didn't go ahead of you asking this question, but for the person that we are going to nominate, if they have never done anything in HIV except be HIV positive and a consumer at one of the ASOs, but they are now wanting to participate in being more hands-on and seeing what's available and out there for them to be advocates and that type of thing. Is that in consideration when you're making, I guess, your judgment accordingly to that way? How do they stand in this?
Yeah. So we encourage everyone, and when we get to the questions, we'll encourage people to go ahead and think sort of outside HIV circles. So in their church, have they been a support group leader? Have they worked with the food? All of that can be part of the responses. And having new advocates come to the training academy are that is great, because those are exactly the sorts of people who benefit from being there. We love having our returnees, people who have been before. Sometimes they're coming because they want to share a strategy that they learned at the last one and how they tweaked it. But new folks coming into HIV advocacy, especially who are living in a state. Where are you at, Marcel?
The lady that I'm going to be nominating is from Gary, Indiana.
Yeah, yeah. So we know that Indiana does a lot of work on HIV criminalization and needs to do a lot of work on HIV criminalization. And so when they are, and I don't envy the scholarship committee at all, because there's like all these different pieces that they
Yeah.
look at, and they just kind of put it together like it's a huge jigsaw puzzle. And they look at the states that people are from, and they look at people with prior experience, and they look at new folks, especially knowing that this is a powerful place where a lot of new folks come and learn so much about HIV criminalization and decriminalization work, and are inspired and go forth and do some amazing things. Olga, I see you raised your hand. Did you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, I'm nominating a girl here from Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
She's really doesn't have no experience with any advocacy work.
Mm-hmm.
I am like I'm her peer support.
Yeah.
She just did 8 years in prison for the Ohio HIV Criminalization Award.
Mm-hmm.
And she has talked about her story a few times. I'm nominating her because I think she'd be a good fit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. A lot of the folks that we lift up at the conference are folks that have experienced HIV criminalization in the past, as well as new folks that are interested in doing this work. Um, so
Yeah,
abs
she's kind of scared when I told her I was nominating her because this is like, the first thing she's doing. Because I told her I might not get a scholarship to be with her,
mm-hmm,
but she's excited, that I'm nominating her, but she's also scared being on her own. That's
mm-hmm.
something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that
And I
is
told her she's got to grow.
mm, mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. And here's the part, is that a lot of times people say that they haven't done advocacy in HIV circles or arenas, when the reality is that people are supporting folks in different ways in different spaces. And so the challenge is, as we support people. And so Marcel, this is what I would sort of encourage you, as you're helping your person to go ahead and apply, is to help them think about what they've done in other spaces in their life, like I said, the church, like their family, perhaps.
Yeah,
Um,
I told her she's done a lot more than what she thought think she's has. And the
exactly.
last year and a half that the last year she's been free,
Hmm.
she
Hmm.
has done a lot. She has told her story to media. She has told her story to workshops. And she's even told her story at two churches.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Olga. And thanks, Marcel, for those questions. Are there any other questions before we continue? Okay, we're just going to keep plugging along then. So you just a reminder that for the scholarship, the full scholarship does include transportation, and it'll cover the most cost-effective transportation, which could be sharing a ride, a bus, a train, or an airplane. There are a couple of things it doesn't cover. And so again, as people are thinking about attending and applying, they need to start thinking about what the cost is going to be to themselves, because we don't want people to be surprised. And that's why I'm including it here, is that we want to keep talking about it. So it does not cover checked bags. If you can squeeze everything that you need into a carry-on or put it under your seat, that is the best, because otherwise you're responsible for the baggage fare. It doesn't cover transportation to or from your home or the airport. or the bus station doesn't cover food or incidentals while traveling. So people usually need to know that so they can go ahead and have a lunch or a cup of coffee, a way to get to the airport. All of those things need to be factored in as people are planning out what the cost is going to be, because nothing's worse or more heartbreaking really than somebody getting a scholarship and being really excited about going and then kind of looking at their finances and realizing that they can't afford to go. So this is also why we are letting people know a full 9 months ahead so that we can start saving and thinking about maybe fundraising, all of that.
And where's the convention going to be?
What was that, Lita?
Where is it going to be?
That has not been announced yet, but it's going to be in the South. We have a couple of locations that we were looking at. So we will hopefully have a big announcement about location and dates by the end of September, which is coming up quick. All righty. So that is everything about sort of the process with the nomination and nominating somebody and then coming to the scholarship process. Are there any questions about any of that? Or Deirdre, is there anything that I might have missed or been confusing about that you want to add?
Nope, so far so good.
Thumbs up to me, double thumbs up to me.
Miss Barb, can you hear me?
Yeah, I sure can, Angel. Hi.
Hi. So the nomination. Now I have two people who I gave those questions to. The answers to them questions to. And that's as far as I was supposed to go right now. And
You mean the ones that the form that we were talking about?
yes, the form, because
Yeah.
I filled out that form for them. The Well Project's one of them, and the other one is a coworker who's seen me doing my work. She's not even in the field. She's just very interested in everything that I do.
That's
So
okay.
she's I'm hoping that's an okay nomination. But so
Yeah.
I answered all the questions on the papers for them, and so they're gonna send them to you, and then you'll let me know if
Nope,
I'm not
nope, nope, nope,
okay.
nope. That's a little, yeah, that's a little, we're gonna just, sorry to stop you right there, but I'm gonna stop you before it gets confusing, okay? So
Okay,
what
thank
you
you.
need is you need either the Well Project or your coworker, only one of
Okay,
them, to go ahead and submit the nomination form that is linked in the chat.
okay,
Okay, so they submit that, including your email, and then they will send you the scholarship application that had those questions on it that you'll fill out and submit.
okay,
So you hold on to that sheet of paper that you had, because Angel had today off and wanted to get a jump on it. And so I sent her the form with the questions for the scholarship. And so Angel's been working on it today because she had a little bit of time. But Angel, you don't send that to the people. They nominate you on this form that's linked here.
okay,
And then they'll send you the scholarship application. And then you'll go ahead and submit that, okay?
okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course, of course. And if you get to the point where, because sometimes the technology can be a little bit confusing and you want somebody to screen share and follow along or help, absolutely let me know and we'll do that, okay?
All right, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
absolutely. All right. So let's talk a little bit about what a scholarship is. A scholarship is a way that you can participate in a conference in a couple of different ways, either having your travel, your lodging, your food paid for, or all of it. Those are
Barb,
different options. Yes,
I'm
Janaea.
sorry. I had my
That's all
hand
right.
up. You might
Okay,
not have
sorry, I
seen
couldn't
me,
see it.
though.
Yeah, what's up?
So I had a question about the number of scholarships awarded and where what I was trying to understand is who's giving these scholarships.
Mm-hmm.
But like, is this coming from PWN? Is this coming from HINAC6 group? Is this coming from Sarah Like, I'm trying to understand so that I know, because sometimes other organizations offer scholarships. And so I'm just trying to see where this is coming from as far as whose
Yep, absolutely.
guidelines these
Great
are as far
question.
as that process. Like, whose
Yeah.
guidelines are these?
Yeah, great question. So let's go ahead and we'll just do a little bit of review again, okay? So HIV is not a crime training academy. is an opportunity that is led by community for us to come together and to talk about HIV criminalization, as well as decriminalization and modernization work that is led by people living with HIV. That is the training academy. We have had 5 of them. We're getting ready to plan our 6th one.
I
It
know
is
that,
an,
Barb.
yeah,
I was just
yeah.
trying to
No, no,
see
no, no,
who.
no. This is not maybe not just for you, but for everyone. I'm just trying to give us all a good solid footing. So that's what the
Okay.
HIV training academy is, okay? Um, the Zero Project is the organization that has been holding the HINAC Training Academy since the very beginning. They have a number of partners who help them with the planning as well as some of the supportive needs. And so that is Positively Trans, PWN USA, the HIV Caucus, and we come together and we help them develop programming and support. But ultimately, the folks that bring us this remarkable training academy are the Zero Project. Okay. How does PWN fit in there? Yep. Olga, I'm gonna go ahead and mute you, honey, because you're yeah, there you go. So where does PWN fit in? We fit in because we have heard from our members that when they have filled out scholarships in the past, there has been concerns about, am I doing this right? What do I need to put down? How can I write the best scholarship? So I am not involved in reviewing the scholarship process at all. I am, as the program director, here to support members and our friends who want to submit the best scholarship to HIV is Not a Crime for this year. So we are helping to hold this webinar and helping to provide feedback as people are writing their scholarships. But I will have nothing to do with reviewing the scholarship. There will probably be somebody from PWN staff who is reviewing the scholarships, but they will have nothing to do with the supportive part of the process. It will be from our membership engagement part of our team, and there will be, they won't see anything that we have worked on. Janae, did that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, good. That was a great question. Who's doing what and why? I love it. Any other questions?
Barb, there wasn't a question, but I just wanted to clarify one piece, if I could.
Super, please.
So if you have received an application, the scholarship application, prior to receiving it from the Zero staff or the scholarship committee, we will not accept that application until we can match it with the nomination. So I know it sounds like someone may have had access to that application, but if there's not a nomination to go with it, that application will not be considered. And also you will not be able to be considered you self-nominate.
Those are great
So you get a
points.
sticker today?
Yourself.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
I think that was somebody who was off of mute unintentionally.
Oh.
Yeah. So that is a great point.
I hope that helps. So, and I know throughout, because if I from these slides, I'm pretty confident that you may be going through what those questions are. And what I would suggest is definitely taking a look for those individuals at these slides and writing down from there your questions to those from there until you get your scholarship link from, and I believe it's coming from Tammy. So if we don't have a nomination first, then you won't get that scholarship link to fill out the scholarship until we have your nomination. Thank you.
Thank you, Deirdre. Really appreciate that. So you have to be nominated. Anyone can nominate you. It's good if they know your work to be able to talk about it a little bit. the and so we're just going to keep going through sort of the scholarship part of it, because again, we're assuming now that somebody has nominated you and you have received that scholarship link. Okay. That's how you get to this stage. If you haven't been nominated, you will not get the scholarship link, and none of this is going to matter because you haven't been invited to apply. You must be invited to apply. And you cannot self-nominate. But it can be anyone. It can be anyone that you work with. It can be anyone that you volunteer with. It can be someone who knows your work. It can be many different people. Okay. So here are the recommendations that we make around submitting a scholarship. And these are standard for everything. The first part is start early. Start early, start early, start early. Don't procrastinate. You want to go ahead and start writing things out ahead of time, so you have plenty of time to think about what might be a strong answer, what might not be a strong answer, what you need to add, what you're going to take away. We are over a month away, so this is early enough to get started. We want to make sure that your name and the information that you put down matches your ID, because that's going to be where they go ahead and book your travel from. You want to make sure that you answer all of the questions completely. You want to share your story and your personal experience. Doesn't have to be HIV related. New folks in the field are welcome. We have plenty of work to do, and we need all of us, including all of the new folks that are interested. So we want to bring them in. It is important to talk about what you hope to learn at the conference and the impact that it'll have on you and your life and your advocacy. People are worried about bragging on themselves or dreaming big. And I say this scholarship application is between you and the scholarship committee. So dream big. Post up some big thoughts. Brag on yourself a little bit, because if you don't, they're not going to know. Here's the part that Angel and I were talking about, is that we suggest that people write your scholarship in Word or a Google Doc before you enter it in the form. That way, you have plenty of time to check your spelling, to make sure that your sentences aren't run on. I mean, I get on a thought talking about something, and I have at least a paragraph that I cram into a sentence. And so I go ahead and I write it all down, and then I go back and I edit it to make sure that it makes sense, to be certain that I have talked about everything that I want to talk about, that my spelling is not all bananas. And then I can copy and I can paste it into the form so that I know exactly what I'm putting in. We have a Google document that we have the questions listed in, that you can go ahead and look at and can copy it and name it for yourself. And that way you have something for you to work in. So you can either write down the answers, or you can use a Google Doc, depending on what you want. If you want feedback from me, it is easier if you can use a Google Doc, because then I can hop right in it and I can read what you've written. We've got me and some other PWN staff members who are interested in helping. A lot of our comms team wants to help make sure that people are really representing themselves and writing well and comfortable and feeling like you are putting down what you want. So we are here to help. It's a good idea to write out acronyms. So, if you're talking about your AIDS drug assistance program, the first time you should just say the AIDS drug assistance program and then put in brackets ADAP. Sometimes we get into the, alphabet soup. And for some of us, we know what it is, but sometimes people don't know. And if you're talking about the Ryan White program or something else that you're doing, we want to make sure that what you're talking about, we know the people that are looking at your scholarship know and understand. Elder, I see you got your hand raised. Do you have a point to talk about the alphabet soup? Or are you back on
No,
one
but
of
I
the ones?
love alphabet soup.
Ah,
No, I'm
okay.
not talking. No, that's not what I was going to say. Good day, Barb, my darling. I missed the first part of what D I think last week was presented. Can I go back? I don't know if Deidre's still on here. Can I go back and see that? Because somebody wants to nominate me, and I now know I have to nominate somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to present, and I'm doing an abstract. I want to do an abstract regarding Latinas, and the other one is regarding sexual acts, well, sexual health in the prison amongst women. So those are my
Okay.
two.
Okay. Abstracts are going to be the next step that we're going to get to. Right now, the way they have it structured is that the scholarship process comes first. And then that way
Okay.
you'll know that you're going to be able to go if you get a scholarship or if you're going to figure out how to get yourself there. Then you can go ahead and submit an abstract. So they've got it a little different this year around how that process is going to work. I went ahead and I put the link to the nomination form in
Perfect. Thank
the
you.
chat. Yep. And we have a question here from Eileen about if people were on the original scholarship webinar with Tammy and Deirdre, do you need to be on this? Absolutely not. This is just us here at PWN offering extra support to our members and our friends who wanted to know a little bit more, maybe review some of the questions, think about what they might want to put out. So this is just an addition and support for that. Okay, you're not going to
I
learn
have a
it.
question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is this like, so I'm just having a little confusion about our schedule. So is this like something a part of our schedule, like our work schedule, like our paid work schedule?
Are you part of the PWN voter engagement staff?
I think so. It's phone banking.
Okay, yeah, yeah. This is not. No, this is something that is offered for our PWN members. So this is something entirely separate from the voter engagement campaign. So this is not a paid training for the voter engagement staff or for
Okay.
people that are phone banking. Yeah. So if you want to, you can go ahead and hop on off.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. Any other questions? All righty. Then we'll just continue with the tips around writing scholarships. It is good to hit your points quickly and to stay on topic. It is also good to, in the different questions, think about one example that will answer that question and just focus on that. Reason why I say that is that a lot of times we start off a scholarship and we put all of the great work we do in maybe one or two responses, and then we get down below and we don't have anything else that we want to add. So we want to make sure that we list out everything great that we do and that we think about where it fits best in our scholarship. And so this is, again, another good reason why working either with notes or in the Google document is helpful, because then people have a chance, you have a chance to kind of say, maybe this answers that question better, or maybe I can talk more about this answer here and move it around and be more flexible. Right? You want to make sure that you proofread your draft for grammatical and spelling errors. If you have any questions, it's always good to have somebody else look over it. And it can be somebody, it can be me, or it can be a trusted friend who, that you want to have read over it. But it's just good to have somebody else take a look at it before you submit it. And again, this is a great reason why using a Word document or a Google document is helpful. All right. So here is where we're going to get into the meat and potatoes, or maybe the tofu and the vegetables of the scholarship application. And again, a reminder, you will not receive the scholarship application unless somebody nominates you. If you fill out these questions here and do not have a scholarship application to submit them on, you are not going to be getting a scholarship. It will not be considered valid. It will not be considered. This is just a document where you can go ahead and practice and start listing what you want to answer or respond to and to draft it out. I'll go back in case people are interested, and if you want to go ahead and do it. Oh, hang on. We have lost the world right now. If you want to go ahead and just save this, it is bit.ly/HINAC, HINAC dash draft dash 2025. And those are all capitals. Or you can go ahead and scan the QR code that is down there and it will call it up. But that is how you can go ahead and get to this Google document. That is a list of what all of the questions will be on the scholarship. So what we do is we recommend that people go ahead and you come over here and you do File, make a copy, and then you go ahead and make a copy and save it. That way you'll have your very own version. In this one here, you won't be able to enter anything because we want to try and keep the one standard draft with all of the questions ready so everybody can go ahead and copy it. If you have any questions about how do you copy or how do you work in a Google document, my contact information will be at the end and you can go ahead and call me up. We can hop on a Zoom or we can hop on a Google Meet or a call or whatever we need to do to make sure that you have access to this so that you can kind of think about what you want. Okay? Everybody with me? Great. All right.
Yeah.
So there will be some demographic. Hey, Sarah, thanks. So there's going to be some demographic information that you're going to need to fill out. We didn't put that here because we wanted to just dive into talking about what the questions for the scholarship applicants are. There are 10 questions. So this is also a good reason why you want to give yourself plenty of time to work on it and to think about it. So let's go ahead and let's just go through and talk about what these questions are. So the first question is, have you ever heard of the Denver Principles? Is there anyone who wants to answer that? Have you heard the Denver Principles?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. All right. So then what do the Denver Principles mean to you? And can you provide one or two sentences describing how it impacts your life and advocacy?
Yeah.
And I can go ahead and I can share what I would write. So for me, I would talk about the Denver Principles being a foundational document from 1983 that talks about people living with HIV being empowered as advocates to speak up for ourselves and our community and the needs of our community. And when it comes to describing how it impacts my life and advocacy, I would say that it was the very first time I saw myself as a person living with HIV, having both rights and responsibility and how we advocate and talk about our lives. It was the first time it felt that people living with HIV were lifted up and were important. Is there anything else that anybody wants to add maybe about the Denver Principles? If you start looking at this early, you actually can go and look up the Denver Principles, read a little bit more about it. Think about maybe where the Denver Principles might have an impact or a connection in your life that you weren't even aware of. All right, so then the next part that we get to is actually, have you ever heard of meaningful involvement of people living with AIDS, MIPA, or the greater involvement of people living with AIDS, JIPA? And of course, as we're talking about this, when we say meaningful involvement, this is the intentional inclusion of people living with HIV, projects that impact. So is there anyone who wants to talk about either MIPA or JIPA? For those of you that were at the US Conference on AIDS, there were a bunch of projects and programs that talked about it. Maybe that might be one of the things that you lift up and talk about.
MIPA is about meaningful involvement of people living with HIV and AIDS. MIPA involves being involved in every aspect of service process or any activities involving people living with HIV. For example, in all ASOs, AIDS service organizations should have more than one representative of a person living with HIV, and that representation should be reflective of the community that we serve, which is primarily, at least in the South, African American, and then next behind that is Hispanic. There should be people in the employment process who are living with HIV. Will say this, it should not always be the same person. We don't tokenize people living with HIV and ask one person to represent for everybody. Now, you know, Barb, I could go on and on. So,
Yeah, yeah. Marcia did a great presentation at the US Conference on HIV and AIDS about MIPA. And, oftentimes when we talk about the meaningful involvement of people living with HIV, as people living with HIV, we also have a number of examples where we have not been terribly meaningfully involved. And we also want to lift those up and say, like how we're demanding change. One of my earliest examples was being on a board of directors for a local AIDS service organization. And they said, we'd love to have you here. We want to go ahead and we want to get your input and hear what you think we need to change or what's important or what's great and what's not great. And then it came to vote, and it turned out that I didn't actually have a vote because they didn't consider me to be a full member of the board. So that was pretty tokenizing. So when we talk about where our voices have mattered and where they haven't, these are examples of where we've been meaningfully involved in decisions that impact our lives and where we haven't. Thank you, Marcia, though. That was a great example about it. All right. Then the next question, we're just going to keep going along. The next question is really specific. Have you been personally prosecuted or threatened with prosecution under an HIV specific law or under a general law because of your HIV status? So an HIV specific law would be, for example, in Colorado, we used to have, but we managed to change it, a law that said that anyone who solicited a prostitute who knew they were living with HIV was shifted from that being a misdemeanor charge to a felony charge. And so if somebody had been arrested and prosecuted under that very specific HIV law, that would have been an HIV specific law that we would want to talk about here. A general law is anything that kind of is not specifically talking about HIV, but is used to criminalize and punish people who are living with HIV. And so that could be a wrongful or a reckless endangerment charge. It could be an intent to do harm charge. It could be any of those sort of more general charges that don't specifically say, this because somebody is living with HIV, but just sort of say that because you're living with HIV and engage in some behaviors that you are putting people at risk or harming them, potentially harming them. So it sounds like we have some folks that might be interested in submitting scholarships who have experienced this. And it is important to acknowledge that and also to acknowledge the harm and the damage that is done by being prosecuted under these statutes or really being prosecuted at all. Just
I,
need to
I like
take a breath there. Yeah.
I like to bring up something.
Mm-hmm.
I know my case was unusual,
Mm-hmm.
but I just want to point out how being criminalized because of HIV status can affect you long term. Now, a lot of people are on sex registries. In
Mm-hmm.
my case, I was supposed to be expunged after I did my probation. That didn't happen till I finished my probation in 2005, and it was not expunged until 2018. It cost me getting very good jobs.
Yeah.
So it's something that can go on and on and on. Um, it's important to fight that part too.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that, Marcia. And every time you share your experiences, I am humbled by what you've been able to survive. So thank you for sharing that because I think it is important to know that, when we talk about prosecuted or threatened with prosecution, that even being threatened with prosecution can lead to people's status being disclosed, people losing work, people's family finding out. There's so much that goes into it as well, right? So thank you. Yeah. All right, so question number 6 is a follow-on to question number 5 about have you been prosecuted or threatened with prosecution? And it's just asking what state you were in and then if you have not been prosecuted or threatened with prosecution, then you just go ahead and say not applicable. Next question is, have you attended HINAC? HIV is not a crime before. If you have, what was something you did in your state with the information that you took home? Please provide a bullet list. So, just a list of the top 5 activities you have led or participated in, and please be specific. Answer not applicable if this question doesn't apply to you. So if you had not attended a HIV is not a crime training academy in the past, it would be not applicable. So for folks who have attended HINAC, what are some of the activities that you have led when you returned? I can say that I was able to do a lunch and learn around specifically the intersection between HIV and sex work, and invited a lot of our state health department folks to come to it. Does anyone else have activities that they've done after they've gone home from the HIV is not a crime training academy?
Bob, hey Bob, this Miss Bob, this Janice. How you doing?
Hi, Janice. I'm doing well, thank you.
So with that number 9 question right there, and no, I have never attended one of this academy before, but you say please provide a bullet list of 5 activities you have in mind, and please be specific. Now I can list those bullet points, but I haven't been this is really my first time hearing about this academy and this scholarship. I be on some of y'all stuff and maybe I wasn't listening or whatever, but I can name 5 activities. I just had never been a part of this.
Yeah. So here's the point. You would answer not applicable to number 7 because you haven't attended, right?
Right.
And you would skip over number 8 because you haven't attended.
Okay.
But you would hold those 5 things for number 9.
Okay.
Okay. So 7 and 8 are for people who've attended and it's been like, what have you done? If you haven't done anything, what was in the way? It could be that this was the first time you were sharing your status And so you kind of went back home and didn't feel comfortable talking about it. Or it could be that you ended up getting a job and needed to spend all of your time working. Those are all really valid reasons why people might have gone to the training academy, but not been able to go home and do the work. So those are questions 7 and 8. If you have attended, what did you do? If not, why not? Right?
Okay.
Question 9, though, is where you, Janice, are just going to come through wah, in all your glory, right? Because it
Okay.
is. If you have not attended HIV is Not a Crime before, and this is your first time, what information are you hoping to gain? How will you share it with when you get home? And please provide a bullet point list of up to 5 activities you have in mind, and please be specific.
Okay.
Okay. Janice,
Okay.
do you want to share some of those ideas you have right now?
Well, right now, you know, kind of in my area, like in Mecklenburg County, when in North Carolina, with Charlotte, North Carolina, and Mecklenburg County, you know, you kind of have like, um, we do a women's support group every other Tuesday, but we just found out Monday when our facilitator came back from the USCA that our group was no longer going to exist and we won't be back up and running until the first of the year. So when he said that and I had a chance to talk to him like today, I just started, this was my first meeting being co-chair of our Ryan's White planning body here in Mecklenburg County. So when I saw him today and we got to talking, so I asked him, I said, well, can we do Zoom? Because I don't want to lose the group. And we come back at the first of the year trying to scramble to get everybody back together. But can we do Zoom every other week like we meet? And so he said, yeah, that was a good idea that we could do that. He said, even if I can't be on to facilitate, you can. So I like that. You know, so those are like one of the things, you know, because I don't want the group to die. And so that was one of the things. And then me being nominated for co-chair for Mecklenburg County's planning body executive committee, that's something else. Like we had our meeting today and I was, you know, full of questions, but you know, you sometimes and I kind of read the room is that I needed to step back for a minute and not ask questions. And so when I talked to the chair, this is the chair first official meeting as for being in her position. And so what she came to me and said, don't worry about it, because I feel everything that you're saying, because me and her had some stuff that we didn't like that was being presented. So, you know, now me and her are going to go to the drawing board. And when we come back at our next meeting, she's going to be ready and I am too. So you see what I'm saying? So those are some of the like those 2 activities and keeping that meeting going. And I still do a lot of work, like even at my church. If somebody's calling and needing something on that level, my pastor always call and ask, can he give my name and number out? And I tell him yes, okay. And Pastor, you don't always have to do that. He said no, but out of respect, he's going to do that. So I'm working in that area. And then you have people that still pull me to the side by me being a member of Narcotics Anonymous. For over 21 years. I still have people that pull me to the side and be wanting this information on where they need to go or what can they do, or do I have a better idea of what a doctor, you know, because their doctor this, that, and the other. So those are some of the things that I still do. Like I love outreach. I'd rather be outreach than to be just sitting, you know. So I'm more like I like more hands-on and on the ground stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. So all of these examples are going to be great up above where we're talking about meaningful involvement. And we're talking about the Denver principles and all of that stuff. So those are really great examples there as well about sort of how you pushed back. You know, planning councils are set up so that they hear from people living with HIV. So
But this is it. But Bob, it's Bob. But this is it. How about I am the only, and I ain't gonna say I'm the only expert, the one living the experienced one
subject matter expert.
Yes, I'm not the consumer. The one with with the lived experience that's there, and then I'm the first one to be even co-chair of Brian's White planning body here in Mecklenburg County. So
congratulations. They're lucky to have you.
So yeah, so that you know that's all that stuff is real good and so I, you know, me getting the feel of the meeting today, that's what I was kind of sitting back trying to do, but it was
Yeah.
questions that just kept kicking up in my head I needed to ask.
Yeah.
So
No, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I also love that the other co-chair is willing to partner with you and sees that your concerns are really valid and
yeah.
wants to help support you with that. So this is all like super good, and you want to make sure
Okay.
that you write
Okay.
it all down because it is all really important. And when you're talking about, like, how will you share it when you get home? Well, you can talk about, like, I'm going to do a presentation to the Mecklenburg Planning Council. I'm going to go and I'm going to talk to
That's a good idea.
our
Thank you.
state health department about why these, laws, or why people aren't talking about it. I'm going to go ahead and, talk to our local aid service organization about it. And I'm going to try and get more people to join the planning council who are living with HIV. Like, all of this are really great things to build on that you want to put in here. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, congratulations. They're lucky to have you. They probably won't think, because you're going to ask all the tough questions and hold them accountable. They're going to think probably that having you on the planning council is not so great. But as somebody else who's living with HIV, I'm really glad you're there.
Thank you.
Yeah, you betcha. Give them hell. Give them hell. So you all can see how basically questions 7 and 8 are about if you've gone, and question number 9 is if you haven't gone. Okay. And so that's going to be, you want to make sure that those two you really talk about, because that's going to be your list of what are you going to do. It could be, I'm going to do a Zoom with, Mecklenburg is South Carolina or North Carolina?
North Carolina.
Okay. Okay. I knew it was in the Carolinas. I just didn't know if it was north or south. So you can say, like, I'm going to do a Zoom with other planning councils from South Carolina, or I'm going to do, a meet and greet with people the next time they come to the Capitol, or like, dream big. Okay. Dream big, because they're all possible things that you can do. So then we come to question 10, which is the final one. And this is sort of like an opportunity to really kind of gather up everything that you want the scholarship committee to know about you. So this is provide a brief 1-paragraph statement telling us anything else you would like to share about your experience that will help us understand who you are and why you should be selected for a HINAC6 scholarship. While all people are encouraged to apply, the scholarship process is designed to support new and emerging advocates, especially those from communities that are historically underrepresented in U.S. HIV policy and advocacy. So this is where you want to spend. So the response to question 7 or 9, depending on if you've been to HINAC or not, and question number 10, these are the ones you want to spend the most time thinking about. All right. I would suggest that you not sit down and start writing out an answer. You can, absolutely. They're going to be long. It's going to be long, 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 and it'll probably wander all over the place. So we'll have a suggestion for you about how you might want to proceed moving forward. But a couple of things that you could put in here telling us about, it could be, I have been living with HIV for 25 years, and because my family said that they would put me out if I shared my status, I haven't been open, and so this is the first time I've been able to advocate. It could be, I have been living with HIV for 3 years. I'm newly diagnosed and I am mad about these laws. In the past, I have been a peer advocate with my church or a youth leader with my church, and so I know how to talk to the younger generation, and that's what I want to do. All of this is really great information that we want to share with them. And when we're talking about a paragraph, we want to have, like 5, 6, 7 sentences about what we do, who we are, what we're bringing to the table. And so it could be, that you want to share where you live. You know, as somebody living with HIV in rural Colorado, I look around and there's nobody else who's living with HIV. I need to be there to represent folks in the rural areas when everybody else is so used to talking about urban areas where there are lots of people living with HIV and I don't know anyone. All of this, who you are is so important to put down. Okay. Um, Anyone have any thoughts? Like, what would you put down here? And you don't need to raise your hand. You can just come off of mute and say what you might put down in this paragraph if you in this response to number 10 if you want to.
I think I would put down, some of my challenges and then how I was able to get across the hurdle on some of those challenges that I was facing. Yeah, what I've run into and and how those challenges, even though they may have been challenges, but how they worked in my favor. I think
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Those are really great. The stories of our overcoming, like we're
Yes.
overcomers, we overcome a lot of challenges. And so being able to list those is really helpful. Absolutely. Absolutely. Um,
I've got one that was really difficult.
okay.
You know it already, but it was in Alabama. We were having a hard time making our voices heard when it came to advocacy and HIV Advocacy Day. And this was a problem where we were literally cut out as people living with HIV of anything related to HIV Advocacy Day other than being the token individuals on HIV Advocacy Day to say that we were living with HIV. So got together, got on their policy committee and stated that we wanted to be involved in all aspects of the planning and got a lot of pushback all the way through. It was started in January, and it wasn't until literally 2 weeks before the HIV Advocacy Day that we got the green light that we could do um, the trainings, the advocacy trainings.
Mm-hmm.
And in less than 72 hours, we put together a program to train people, and we scheduled 3 different times to do the trainings for people across the state.
Yeah. 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 Gatekeeping, right? Gatekeeping is something that we have to overcome a lot of times in a lot of spaces.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel very good. Thanks for sharing that, Marcia. Then the last question, and I'm going to go ahead and go through the last one as well, is a question about, does your state have an HIV specific statute? And you want to say yes or no. And there's a link that you can go ahead and click on that will take you to look it up. And that will tell you if your state has a HIV specific statute or not. And I think it is.
It's
Deirdre,
not
the link.
clicking, Bob.
What's that?
It's not clicking.
On the one, yeah. I will go ahead and I will fix that. I think, Deirdre, the
Okay.
link that it goes to is the CHLP state HIV crim laws, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and we're going to take care of this right now. Okay. So when you click on it, who wants to call out a state? How about we'll
Tennessee,
do,
Tennessee. I think they got theirs fixed though.
Okay. I was going to do, why don't we do North Carolina since we got North Carolina folks on? So you'll go ahead and you'll click on it and then it'll show North Carolina. And it says North Carolina has HIV specific criminal statutes. And then it goes on and it tells you what they are. So there is a sex specific HIV criminalization law. There is a needle sharing specific HIV criminalization law. There is a blood tissue, organ, and semen donation specific criminalization law. There is a general STI communication disease specific law. There are general felonies against people living with HIV, as well as specific misdemeanor laws. So essentially, what we know is that in North Carolina, they have a lot of HIV specific laws. So that would be a yes. And you can go ahead and even if you want to, you can say yes. And boy, there are a lot of them.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm trying to
and you can sort of say if there's one or two that you find that you want to talk about, you can go ahead and do that. But now the click will work and will get us there. Okay. So you can go ahead and look up your state and be able to answer that one. All right.
Okay.
So any questions that anyone has about those right there?
I have a question that I think I already have the answer to. I was
Okay.
speaking to someone yesterday, and I mentioned to him that I would like to nominate him. And he told me that someone else had mentioned it to him, but they had talked about him applying for the scholarship. So I asked them to go back and check on whether or not they had nominated him or not. Because we can only nominate 3 people, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So I would go ahead and nominate him. If he's already been nominated, then they will go ahead and let you know that you still can nominate 3 people.
Okay.
Because people only need 1 nomination. But if he hasn't been nominated, then he'll get a scholarship link and he can start working on it. So I am telling people, get your nominations soon. If there's somebody that you want to nominate, go ahead and do it because it doesn't cost you anything. You don't lose a nomination. It doesn't help if people get nominated multiple times, but it means that people can go ahead and get started sooner rather than later. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sarah, you had your hand raised?
Yeah. Bob, the thing you put in the chat in the for Google Doc, we can go in there and work on the scholarship and you'll be able to see it and okay, good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like we've done for abstracts or scholarships in the past, is that essentially, yeah. And if you want help making a copy, you let me know and we can go ahead and do that. But essentially, by having that in Google Docs, then I can go in and I can read it and I can help make suggestions and all of that good stuff. It's like we get to work on it together, like we're in the same room.
Good. All right then.
Yeah.
Thank
And that's the offer to anyone who is a PWN friend or member, especially, is that if you want help and support with this, thinking about like what's a good example for it, having somebody kind of read over and say, maybe we want to put a little bit more, here, and maybe this is too much. We are happy to help. We are happy to help. Okay. So here's something I want to recommend that people do. Is this is really hard, but I recommend that folks do it, is go ahead and sit down and schedule out 30 minutes with a piece of paper and write down your accomplishments, things you want to brag on, things you're really proud of, especially around your HIV advocacy work or how you have worked with your communities. Because as soon as you start writing a scholarship, you're going to remember one thing and you're going to forget the 12 others that you've done. So just not even related to the scholarship, just write down a brag list. You don't need to share it with anybody else, but it is a good idea to just have this list so that you can refer to it when you're thinking about what you want to talk about. All right. So again, we're here to help you and we can arrange one-on-one help. We have the Google Docs with the questions that we'll go ahead and share with folks that have participated today. And here is my contact information. Now we have 10 minutes left and we can go ahead and we can talk over questions, or people can hop off early, whatever we want to do, we have time for that. But again, one last thing I want to say is that you must be nominated to receive a scholarship application. The Google document that we shared is only a place for you to work and get help from us. It will not count as a application.
And Barb, there is one other thing that we also would like for folks to know is if you are selected for a scholarship, there are 3 levels of a payment that will need to be received prior to receiving your the scholarship. And that's a level 1, like you see here, which would be $100. The level 2, which level 1, I wanted to make sure I let you all know what's included, just as a reminder, y'all. Level 1 is a registration scholarship, and that one is $100. The level 2 is registration and lodging scholarship. That's $150. That includes all of your dining and your lodging. And then the level 3 is a full scholarship, which includes all of your dining, your lodging, and the most cost-effective transportation. And that one is of $200. And so you'll need to make sure, if you are selected as a scholarship recipient, that in order for your application to be processed, that according to that, it's either the $100, $150, or $200. So just wanted to just also make that announcement as well, because that is something that, just in case, you can start saving for a rainy day, a few dollars here, a few dollars there. And then if you later on, some suggestions has been to fundraise. Some people have done popcorn. Some people have, some folks have done the fish dinner, so some chips, just different things, and ask their friends to support them, to help them to get this $100. So just wanted to make sure to let you all know that. And for those that are going to apply, I wish you great luck on that.
Deirdre, thanks. That's such a great reminder for folks. Is always heartbreaking when people receive a scholarship and aren't able to pay the associated expenses to be able to utilize it. So thank you.
Hey Barb, this is Angel. Hello.
Yeah, hi Angel.
Hi, on that. So we won't know if we're nominated level 1, level 2, level 3 until you tell us. But this isn't like a fee we have to pay no matter what. This will just be that we are nominated. Somebody sent us in, nominated us. You're accepting it, and then we pay that money, right? It's not like a deposit or something. Just to
No, people will nominate you, and they won't nominate you for a specific level. You will choose which level of scholarship you're applying for.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, that's correct. That's completely correct.
And then when your scholarship, then when people are notified that they've received a scholarship in January, payment will need to be made. Deirdre, from what I'm understanding, people will need to be able to submit the payment between sort of the January notification that you received a scholarship and when travel is booked in February.
Excellent. Thank you.
That's correct. That's correct.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. These are great questions. Other questions? right. I'm going to go back to my contact information. Feel free, email me, call me, carrier pigeon me, and we will go ahead and we will get started on helping you with your scholarship. And I am free to hang out here in case anyone wants to ask other questions one-on-one. But otherwise, that's the end. Is that helpful for everyone?
Thank you for your time and your help.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
yes.
Okay, good. Yep, the
Thank
goal
you
is
all.
that everybody feels prepared to be able to submit the absolutely best scholarship that they can. Because we know that you all do amazing work and we want to have you there.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, everyone. Have a
All
good
right.
night.
You too, Bob.
Yeah, you betcha. Bye-bye. All right. Deborah and Olga, did you all have questions or are you just hanging out? All righty. See you all later.